Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast. Yes, where you get to choose, change and take some action to create a different today and a different future. These are my stories of choice and change and the amazing guests I have on here. Personally, from a really young age, I've always desired to create a change in the world. The earth has been a massive inspiration to me, and Access Consciousness has shown me and given me the tools to know that anything is possible. Here is what I choose. What are you going to choose? Hey everybody, welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast, and welcome to 2022. Oh my goodness. Woo! Woo! Goes wild. Yay! Woo! Yeah, that's it. Woo! So who's making noise here with me is Dr. Dain Heer. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, truly a pleasure, my dear. Thanks for having me. Happy 2022 to you.
Yes, happy 2022. Yes. It's a little bit hard to say when you say it really fast. It's like 2022. Yeah. It's like I keep.
Yeah, I know. It's great.
I keep stumbling, but hey, you know what? It's okay. We got this.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are listening to this, you can always catch us on YouTube as well. So join us on there. So I brought Dain on today because I wanted to talk about business, which is interesting because I've known Dain for 21 years. And there was many, many years ago, that is not, I wouldn't be like, hey, Dain, let's talk about business. It's like, that would not have been
you would have said that and I would have been like, bye-bye, like Wile E. Coyote, puff of smoke in my wake. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, so with that, that's the topic I wanted to sort of talk to you about. It's sort of like when you think you know nothing about business and yet you find out you do. So
yeah,
where do we want to start with this? So let's start with the history of, I remember, years and years and years ago when Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and your co-creator, it's been amazing, hanging out with you guys and working with you guys and everything. And I remember years ago, we would talk about something and Gary and I'd go, cool, let's create it. And you would get so annoyed.
I would have a cold chill down my spine that was like, hold on. Have you analyzed this? Do we have reports? Do we have projections? Do we have all kinds of defined stuff that will let us know whether this will work or not? And there's two things that went on with that. One was I was trying to define everything so I could assess and overcome the problem before it occurred. And number two, I hated doing that. And I thought that's what business was. And I thought that was what was necessary. So I had absolutely no joy in business. And if y'all don't know, Simone created an entire body of work called The Joy of Business. And so I had none. And I was trying to get it right and always feeling like I was wrong. And so they would say, oh, do you want to create this? I go, yeah, okay, let's do it. And I'd be like, wait, where's the process?
So actually, what actually came up for you? Like, what did you think of me and Gary at that stage?
I thought you guys were crazy. I mean, not like in not totally crazy. Yeah, that was just an acknowledgement actually, now that I look back on it. But it's like it was like, no, I would just freak out. And I see that with a lot of people with business, as I know you do also, but I would just freak out because I hadn't defined, I hadn't studied, I hadn't gotten all the information. And what I didn't realize was you guys were acting on energy. And what's funny is I do a thing called energetic synthesis of being.
Note to Dain, you actually know a thing or two about energy.
Note to self, you have some awareness. Hello, silly goose. And so what happened was I had totally disconnected everything that was me and everything that was really actually light and true for me and everything that was easy for me from business. And I didn't realize they actually live together. And so, and once again, I see this with so many people, and I know you do also.
Well, it's interesting too, because you've said two things. One was, we have to sort of I can't remember the word you used, but educate ourselves about it, like find out more about it. And then also define it, like create that definition of it. So What? Because I would like, if people are listening to this too, it's like if you are listening to this and going, "Oh my God, that's me," I am Dain. It's like that the way he is, or the other way around. You were like me and going, "Yeah, let's create it," and everyone looks at you like you're an idiot. And so it's like, what are the hurdles that you see people have that if they don't even have to jump over them, if they just sort of like went boop and knocked them over,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. If
like
they
there's
just
a
blew
whole
hard.
other different reality available. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what,
And
what was the difference like for you? I mean, money. How important is money?
well, it's not, and it is, but it's not in the way that people think it is,
Hmm.
which is the whole thing about all of this is it's not what you think it is. So when you talk about what are the hurdles, it's that business is this foreign concept and construct to most people. Because let's face it, most of the people that are listening to this podcast are the seekers of the world, the creative types, the sensitive types. And what do you associate with business is corporate, whatever country you're in, where it's like cutthroat competition, kill, and that's the only way to survive and the only way to get ahead, and you must have your reports and all that stuff. So the biggest thing that I see is people have defined it as something that it actually isn't, or that it may be for other people, but it doesn't actually have to be for you. And
So
so
let's do this for first of all. Go all the definitions that you have. Like, what if you define business as that it isn't, and everything that is, where you destroy and uncreate it.
right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. You
This
have an
is my
official pod
favorite.
pocker.
I was going to say, but this is my favorite part because every podcast, if you've been listening to my podcast, you'll know what I'm talking about. I always go, that's the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. And if you'd like to find out more about it, go listen to my friend Dr. Dain Heer on theclearingstatement.com. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Dain Heer.
Hello.
Hello. Yes. And you know what? It works because it's like when you say that, as I was growing up as a kid too, my dad, like I would see him go off to work and he wore a tie, and the pants and like had the whole look. And he also had his briefcase. And this is weird. Like I always associated business with a briefcase. It was like if you're going to do business, you need to have a briefcase. Do you know what my dad used to have in that briefcase? Was his
What?
lunch and the newspaper. But to me, that briefcase was like, there must be very important stuff in that thing. Like that's he's going off to work, he's going to
Oh,
business, and he had
that
his
is
lunch.
so good. That is so good. And it's such an apt description because that's what occurs is we have all of these ideas about what things are and the significance of things that actually are not. And
Yeah.
we have all these things that we've seen in all kinds of ways in which business has interacted with us in some way that we don't even realize. We wouldn't even think about it cognitively most of the time, but it has nothing to do with what actually is or what can be in our hands that is different from everything else and everybody else that we've seen. And if we make it ours, and if we do it our way, if we can undo the idea of business is this and therefore, and instead go, wow, what could it be for me? And what could the gift be to me? What could the gift be to the world? And how can I use business to bring my gift to the world in a way that brings me joy?
So I want to address something here as well because for a long time I know that you had the point of view that business was not your gig, right?
Totally.
But that wasn't my point of view about you. I
Right.
was like, what do you know? What do you know? What do you know? What do you know? I mean, Emily, your girlfriend, I remember the first time when I said to her, hey, do you want to do social media for me? And she looked at me and went, I don't know anything about business. And I went, yes, you do. And I was like, what do you know? And she was like, what? What do I know? And I was like, yeah, what do you know? Like, you know something. And I don't know if you recall this. It's very vivid in my mind. We were in Costa Rica at a property that we now have called El Lugar. You can check that out on Instagram. Please follow it. Some of the most beautiful, stunning photos of birds and land and even buildings is just amazing. And we were looking for land, right? And we didn't have the money in the bank, which I think is one of the things that so many people don't choose based on, I don't have the money in the bank. Well, that's just your reason and justification for not choosing. And I know that that's what used to piss you off sometimes when you'd be like, what? Like your guys are going,
Well,
yes, let's do it.
well, if we're talking about money, I got a lot to say about that particular subject. Okay. And because you can say, because you have the awareness of you're not having money in the bank is your reason and justification for not choosing. But we kind of need to pause for a moment, because if we could make the entire podcast about that, and we'd still be about 10 to 11 hours short, because really the idea in the world, and what we have to look at with business, is part of the reason a lot of the people that are listening to this won't do business is because it's too much like the world around them that they don't understand from their point of view. And the thing is, it's not that well, it may be that you don't understand the world, but what this is it's not about what you don't understand. It's what you uniquely bring to the conversation and to the space that will create possibilities. And so the thing about money, when you said that about it's a reason and justification, the idea I don't have money in the bank is a reason and justification. What most of us have been taught, well, here's the thing. Most of us have seen people who spent a lot of money they didn't have, were in lots of debt, credit collectors were after them and that sort of thing. For some of us, it was our parents, like for me. And we were like, I never want to suffer that way. And so we're like, I am not going to do anything until I have the friggin' money to pay for it, which is where I was coming from. And yet what that does is that's a judgment, that's a fixed point of view of how creation occurs, as though creation is somehow an effect of money. In actuality, money is the byproduct of creation. So money is the poo that occurs from you choosing to create. And you're like, what? Wait, that's totally backwards. I know. Welcome to Access, where everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. But if you could let in the concept for a moment, what it basically boils down to is creation is not based on the amount of money you have to create with. It's based on your willingness to choose to create no matter what appears in front of you and no matter what seem to be the conditions, based on an awareness of what will be fun for you, what will create more for you, what will create more for the world.
So, which brings me also to the story I was talking about. We were at Elugar and we were horse riding, and we were looking at getting this property, and it was like, yes, you can choose it, etc. But there was this moment that we were on the horses and people were ahead, and it was you and me, and you looked around and you went, there was this demand in your world, Dain, and you went, we're getting this.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I can even visualize where you were to me. Like your horse was just to the right in front, because I just went, whoa, that was such a cool demand in your world. It wasn't, we have to go meet with the banks, we have to work it out, can we get a budget, who's going to do this? It wasn't any of that. There was this energy where you just went, yes, this is happening. And that was many years ago. And we also we didn't actually purchase the property for a few years after that, which I see so many people would go, yes, we're getting this. Oh, it hasn't worked out yet. So then you absolutely kill the possibilities, because you go, well, it didn't work out in the time span that I thought it should. But the demand in your world just went, to me, what it did was like had this ripple effect around the world and the universe going, open the doors, there's no time span here, there's no judgment, can we please have this, show up? But you chose it, and that was so potent, your choice to choose something and what it created. So,
well, and that's the interesting thing is a couple things. Is one where people don't realize the potency of a choice. And people don't really get what choice is either. It's interesting because we're having this conversation. People actually don't get what business is. So they've got to, and when we don't actually,
I've already described it. It means a briefcase that you carry your lunch in. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, now they get it.
Yeah.
Hello. What was I thinking? It's not like we didn't describe it. Hello. So it's like people don't really get what business is. People don't really get how money functions, and people really don't get how choice works. Now, I say all these things, and I'm not trying to invalidate anybody. What I'm trying to say is that if you're somebody who believes that applies to you, what I've found is you actually get it way more than you may have ever acknowledged. It's just people in the world that are defining it for you don't have your background and your awareness of how it applies to you and how it can work for you. And so this idea, like when you said, I chose it. And then guess what? We're creating it now. And it's a year and a half away from being completed. Okay. And what was interesting also, I know, seal clap. What's also interesting is after a while where we hadn't bought it, it was, I don't know, a couple of years, we hadn't purchased the property
4 or
yet.
5 years, actually. It was a decent, time.
That was a while.
Yeah.
And I hate to say part of that was because of my stuff about money. Rather than diving in, I wanted to find a way to have the money first. This was a great awareness to me that if you get a yes on something, because we both know that our best friend and business partner, Gary Douglas, his question is yes or no based on what will create the most. And it's a totally different way of doing things, and something you can teach yourself if you're willing to, that takes the computation out of it and instead brings your awareness of what will create into it. And really, if you look at it, you can start practicing this by asking for anything you want to choose. You can ask, what will my life be like in 5 years if I choose this? Will it be bigger or will it be smaller? Will it have more space and more expansiveness and more movement, more joy? Or will it have less of all of those things? And that's just an instantaneous awareness of basically bigger or smaller. And so you go, what will my life be like in 5 years if I choose this? Like, do it for a pack of gum, do it for a movie date, do it for, starting a business, do it for buying a house, do it for starting a relationship, do it for really small things first, because those aren't so significant. So you can start getting the sense of what that question is bringing back to you in the form of awareness. And the thing is, we have awareness of things. And in the current definitions of business and money and how it works and choice and how it works, that has very little place in a defined reality because it's beyond definition, but it's so easily accessible to us if we're willing to recognize there's something different available. And then the question becomes, how do we get there? Well, my suggestion is read Simone's book, The Joy of Business, and take some of her courses on the joy of business. And because these things are there as a way of opening up that space of awareness, that space of choice. And you didn't pay me to say that. I just do that because I realize what a frigging gift it is to have this different perspective, because you were the person that made me actually enjoy business. And I can't tell you what a frigging gift that is. You changed my whole world.
Thank you. I would add, if you read Joy Business and read Being You Changing the World, boom.
Boom.
That's going to create something greater. So if people are listening to this now too, because I know that energy, like when I told that story about being in Delugar and you said yes, right? Then you said that, it didn't actualize based on some of your points of view about money. What I absolutely adore and love about you, Dain, is that if you have a point of view or you're stuck in something or a judgment or whatever that is, it's like when you are aware of it and you acknowledge it, you change it. And you change it so dynamically. You're willing to go, oh, fucked up there, or that wasn't, my brightest move or whatever. And it's like, but you will change your whole entire reality to choose something greater. Can you sort of break that down a little bit and talk to people about that? Because most people would go in the rightness of their point of view. Well, I'm right about money, but you just went, oh, okay. I guess there's something else I should give a shot here,
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like most people would rather be right than free. For me, I don't care very much.
That. That's never been in my world. So.
I know. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I learned a long time ago. I had some experiences growing up where I was so holding on to the rightness of my point of view, and I saw how it alienated people. And then what I found out later was they were actually right, but I was so fighting for the rightness of my point of view that I literally lost friends. And I looked at that, and actually what I did after losing, I was at a place where somebody that was my roommate who we had this thing go on, and I was a dick. There's no other way to put it. I was so convinced of the rightness of my point of view, and I was fighting for the rightness of my point of view. And he actually knew what was going on, and he was like, no, it's not that way. And I'm like, yes, it is, blah, 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 blah. And I ended up losing a friend. And I looked, and then I found out that I was actually wrong. And I went to him and I said, you know what? I'm really sorry. I was wrong here. This was my bad, not yours. I've been a total dick. Can we please still be friends? Because I value having you in my life.
Mm.
And he almost cried. You don't see guys of that age. We were young men, you know, and he almost cried. And I was like, whoa, that's interesting. Like giving up my, and before that, there was this yuck separation where every time I thought of him, I was like, and every time he thought of me, I'm sure he was like, and it was only my need to be right that was killing the friendship. And when I undid that, I can't tell you how much lighter my world got. And it gave me an awareness. And then I had a couple other situations like that when I was younger and slightly older that put me in the place when we finally got to, when I finally started doing Access 21 years ago. I was like, there were so many things that I was trying to fight to prove that I had right. And Gary didn't make me wrong. We started working very closely and he didn't make me wrong for any of those things, but he started asking me questions. And I realized every single place I was sticking myself, every single place I wasn't willing to change something was where I was trying to prove I was right for having chosen it. And when I saw that, and when I looked and went, if I didn't have to be right here, what could I choose? And what have I chosen because I'm trying to be right? And if I didn't have to be right, what could I choose and what would that create? And I just sort of played with what might that create. And then I started choosing according to that rather than I am right and the world is wrong. And it took us a huge amount of the fight against the world out of my world. And I just liked it more. And
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, I absolutely, Dane. I totally agree with you on that. And I mean, I was joking before, by the way, guys, about the rightness thing. It's like I did righteousness extremely well, and there's still areas that pop up in my life where I go, whoa, and it's like, but letting it go now way easier is way easier and way quicker because of that. What you're talking about, it's like it's so interesting that the insanity that we choose, like thinking, if I hold on to this rightness of my point of view, like I'm right about this, then it's going to create something greater. But it's actually not. It's creating separation. It's creating less of you. Like you literally are pushing away and avoiding joy and possibilities and happy. If you give up your rightness of your point of view, there is so much more available. And if you look at this, like I know we're talking about business and money here. So, how many of you have decided that you have the right point of view in regards to business, the right point of view in regards to money and what you should do with it, whether it is like budget
oof,
or take risks or not take risks, rather than what we mentioned really early on is what do you know? And if you actually followed what you knew with business and money, what could show up? And if you got over the rightness of your point of view. So everything that is right now, just anything that you can like, you put your energy onto about the rightness of your point of view, being righteous, any of that, destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion.
right,
Right.
wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
It's double whammy, ladies and gentlemen.
Boom.
Yeah.
And my other question is, what have you decided you so need to be right about
Mm.
that keeps you trapped in a loop you cannot get out of? Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it, please.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
got some energy.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Damn. So if you could have anything in 2022, I don't know, am I the only one that's finding it difficult to say? If you could have anything in 2022, what would you ask for, Dane?
I would ask for the people that have the capacity to wake up and contribute to a world that is truly greater for all of us, with more inclusion, more possibility, and less separation, to have whatever is required. And I may be cursing the world with this, find out as we go through 2022, to have whatever is required to have them wake up and be the awareness to join a progression of possibilities and recognize their choice creates possibilities for all of us, but have it actually occur with as much ease as possible. We've had much dis-ease in the last 2 years that has woken a lot of people up and is continuing to.
Yeah.
And I would like people to wake up, but with ease, and
Cool.
also to recognize the gift that they are, that this reality doesn't validate or acknowledge because they don't do it from judgment or rightness or wrongness, but all of those things that they are, all of their weird awarenesses, all of their weird ways of looking at things that are about including everyone and judging no one, are actually a strongness.
And everything it doesn't allow that to show up, I'm going to destroy and uncreate it.
Right,
Right,
wrong,
wrong,
good and
good and
bad,
bad,
pod and pock, all
all
nine
all
shirts,
boys
boys and
and
beyonds.
beyonds. So, Access Consciousness is the main business that you're involved in. I know that you are involved in other businesses as well. Can I ask you, what is it that you would like to ask for with Access Consciousness as well as a business?
Whew.
Mm.
I would like it to, it's interesting because there are two things. There's most of it is actually energetic, that doesn't have words.
But thank you, because that, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that is actually how we create business, is energetically. And that was what I was missing when I thought we had to define everything. And yet everything we do is energetic. So there's an energy and a space and a sense that I have of what I would like to ask for. Actually, what I am asking for. Thank you for asking the question. I'm now officially asking for it, even though I wasn't looking at that before. And that's another gift, when somebody will ask you a question, to give you an awareness that allows you to have the awareness of what you'd like to ask for. Hello, what a gift. But most of it is actually that. And so much of that doesn't actually have words that can be even conveyed to others. But what I notice is, like, if I'm having a conversation with somebody that I work with, like you, for example, or somebody that's on our creative, one of our many creative teams, or as we call them, gaggles, to do things, what'll happen is that awareness of that request will, when somebody's willing to hear some part of it or a part they can contribute to, I will then go blah, 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 partially because I've got the awareness energetically. I've tapped into the energy of this universe, if you will, this different space that access can be in this case. And actually, let's not say it can be, it actually will be, because I know that. Yeah. Okay. So I've tapped into this. Now it's an awareness of that without a conclusion, but a space of possibilities of what it can be. And now it's like, okay, hey, universe, consciousness, show me the way of getting there. So I'll have somebody who I don't normally talk to on a daily basis. I may talk to them once or twice a year, and they're like, hey, can you call me? I'm like, sure, let's talk. So we're talking, and they give me an awareness of what's going on, which gives me an awareness of a piece of something that if we change it, will allow that to open up. And it just happens, I'm going to say, as if by magic, although it's in the willingness to follow the whispers that occur naturally from any requests that you make to have something change. Because if the change you're asking for is going to create more consciousness for the world, consciousness wants to support it. And so you get the sense of that. It's lighter, it's happier, it's more, it's greater for the world. Consciousness in the world is going to do everything it can to support you. Now you just got to be the person who is not refusing it to prove that you can do it all on your own.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dain. And you, I mean, we were talking about like the last couple of years, and what I've seen is the gift that all of this has been and how it has opened up so many different doors. And some people have gone to, whoa, there's another possibility, another possibility, another possibility. And others have gone to, you know, the victim and the trauma and drama of everything rather than what else is available. And because we are successful. I mean, as per this reality as well, we are successful. And I looked at this recently that I realized I'd become really complacent. And I'd become complacent with the money that I was earning because I was more successful than I thought that I would ever be sort of. Like I didn't really have a figure to it. Like I never, when I was, I don't know, 20, go, this is the amount of money I will be earning. But I realized I was successful, comfortable in that. And then I went, wow, I'm actually becoming complacent. So if you're listening to this and with money and with business, like, have you become complacent with your business? And what if, and please listen to this again, because the way Dain just talked you through that, there was some really golden tools and questions to actually ask, and the energy that you can be with your business that allows it to expand, like exponentialize. And the universe has so got your back, consciousness has got your back and is willing to, have more. And I realized recently, oh, you know what, I've got to be willing to be, and that doesn't have to show up like this, but be uncomfortable again with the amount that we are expanding, because that matches the energy of what I'd like the world to be.
That.
Yeah.
And that willingness to be uncomfortable is being willing to take a leap into a reality in which you are letting the universe actually contribute to you.
Yeah.
Because we know what it's like to control everything. We call that comfort, when I am in charge and control everything. And we have this weird idea that if we let the universe or consciousness be in charge, things are going to get totally messed up, bro. No, that's not when you allow yourself to allow the universe and consciousness to contribute. And all the people that are part of that will contribute, like the ones that actually will. And we've all been screwed by people, not in a good way. We've all been taken advantage of, and we use that as a reason and justification to not receive anymore. But that was stupid, mean, abusive, gaslighting people. That wasn't the universe. That wasn't consciousness. That was totally unconscious and anti-conscious. And yet we have decided we're going to put up walls and barriers so we can protect ourselves. The problem is, when your primary target in life is protecting yourself, you live your entire life in a full body condom, and you're the only one who doesn't recognize it. And everybody else is like, whoa, it's a lot of latex there, Susan. What's going on today? Oh, it's a new outfit I'm wearing to protect myself from the world. How's it looking? I can't breathe, but how am I looking? You know?
Oh God, that is so true. Especially for like when you went and I can't breathe. Like how many of you are not breathing? You're not moving. Like,
Yeah, and not enjoying. And please know, none of these conversations are about making you wrong. You are not wrong. You've done the best damn job you can with the tools you have available, which is why Simone and I do podcasts and we do access and we do all these things so that we can bring you different tools, things that might actually work in the trenches of life to change it. Because let's face it, if you don't change, you get really bored really fast. And it's not about doing it right and perfect. None of us does. It's about the willingness to put yourself out there, take a step. And if it doesn't work out very well, then readjust before you take the next step. There's no need to take 2 steps in utter stupidity. If your first step reveals utter stupidity, then we have tools to change that so you're not nearly as stupid by the time you take the second step.
Absolutely. And I saw it, like it doesn't matter what shows up. Like, you stumble and fall, you graze your knee. What are you going to choose? Get up and be like, oh, what's so funny about me? I'm not laughing about it. One of the questions Gary came up with ages ago, which I thought was hysterical. And what are you going to choose next? It doesn't matter what you chose yesterday. It's what are you going to choose today? So
Yeah.
like Dain said, there's nowhere in our worlds that we are making you wrong for any of your choices. Trust me, we've been there, done that. I mean, Dain has brought up some of the, I think I held the conch for control freak of magnitude, and also held the conch for, rightness bitch of the world as well. And there's a whole lot of other things too. And it's like, but I'm not making myself wrong for ever choosing that. It's like, what am I going to choose now? Like, what's next? What are you going to choose in 2022? Like, what is next for you? What is possible? And if you actually were willing to, like, push down all of those barriers and those limitations, and not make those limitations more real and significant than what you could choose, and just go, you know what? I'm done. Let's have an adventure. What else is possible here on planet Earth?
Yeah. And that, I'm done. Let's have an adventure. If I were truly making my life, if I were truly making my life true love, that's from The Princess Bride. Marriage. If I were, I just combined 2 words, that's all. If I were truly making my life about the joy of it, what would I choose?
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that joy is just, lying on your bed and not doing anything. That's boredom. And yeah, that's not to say don't relax. Like, what if the whole process involved relaxation? What if the whole process involved ease? We have the saying in Access, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory, which is exuberant expression and abundance. It's possible. And I know some people listening are like, that's not possible. Y'all is crazy. Um, you were probably correct. We probably are, but we've together created a business that's in 176 countries around the world that started in 3 countries when we came to it.
Yeah.
We grow 16% a year roughly. It's dropped down to 11% since COVID started. Yeah. And the reason I say that is for the people that say that this doesn't work. No, that's an attempt to try to hold in place what you've decided should work, but how well has that worked for you? How much joy has it created for you? How much increase in your sense of ease has it created? Because for us, we're doing this and having more joy all the time.
Oh
And
God.
yeah, we have ups, we have downs, but the downs are far less down than they were when we started using these tools, way less down, and the ups are way higher. And so the general level has gone up. And if there are downs, rather than being way down, they're like, oh, okay, oh, and then you figure out what you need, and then you just keep going. It's
I
a
was gonna
constant state of more.
Yeah, a lot of the times when you have that down, it's like I know you're the same. I always gain an awareness. You go,
Always.
oh, it's like, what did I gain from this? And it's like most people will look at like that's a shitty day or that's a shitty moment or what you lost. It's like even if you started without asking that question, well, what awareness did I gain from this? Because I always
That.
gain more awareness. Always. Yeah. If
Yep.
you're willing to have it and receive it, it's like, oh, it's so exciting. And I love the like I'm so grateful, Dane, because you get just as excited as me about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that adventure of living and whatever it is, whether it's facilitating or going for a run or making a cocktail. So if you're not watching us, it's like Dane's made this amazing cocktail. It looks beautiful.
Margarita. I make a
Margarita. Your
really,
margaritas.
really good margarita.
I only started drinking margaritas when I started drinking yours. You
You're
introduced me
welcome.
to margaritas. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello. I've
Yeah.
changed the world for the better.
Yeah, exactly. Hello. So, but thank you for being you and always having that level of enthusiasm and the vulnerability that you have and be, Dane, has invited me and I know so many others to something greater because you are willing to go, "Oh, what was that?" And then you're like, hey, bright, shiny, new Dane, whatever that looks like today. So thank you for being a trailblazer. Honestly,
Thank
it's
you.
like every time you choose, the world gets happier and the world gets easier for so many people. And I've what for years, every time you choose something, and I'm like, oof, just made it easier for me to choose something like that. I guess it's the 100 monkey syndrome and the way that works. It's like, and again, it's energy. It's like energetically, when you choose something, I go, oh, he just opened this door, so it's like I can go through that door as well. So that is what we are inviting you all to. It's like, what doors are open that you could walk through? What doors are you opening that we would love to walk through as well? It's like, what else can we create, and actualize here on planet Earth? And let's do this. Like, let's
Yeah.
do it.
Let's do this together.
Yeah.
This takes all of us, and let's do it together.
Yeah.
Enough of the separation. And let's use each other to inspire each other and invite each other to more.
Yeah.
And let's also recognize the inspiration that we are. That's not a wrongness to acknowledge that about you. That is part of your strongness. And that is part of the gift of you and the gift that we see in you. And for me personally, I'm really grateful you stuck around this long to listen to this podcast. And I hope it's been a contribution.
Yeah. And Dane, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so grateful, super grateful. And I know maybe you can find Dane on drdainheer.com, accessconsciousness.com, and you also have a new podcast out.
Yeah.
What? I know. It's like, what's the podcast called?
It's called The Possibility Explorer. And you can find it at thepossibilityexplorer.com because I'm so creative.
So So please subscribe to that because Dain is one of the most informative, educational, and fucking funny people I've ever met in my whole entire life. So
Thank you.
yes. Thank you. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us here. And we look forward to, meeting you, chatting to you, whatever, this year, next year, whenever it is that you choose. If you want to come along and check out Access Consciousness, we've got loads and loads and loads of classes and different things available for you all. So thank you. So thank you, Dain.
Thank you, Simone. I just want to say for everybody listening, we love you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com and follow me on Instagram at Simone Milasas, and that's Milasas. Don't forget you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.